Hello, hello, happy Friday. Welcome to our Friday Witchy Hangout. We do this every single Friday where we get together, we ask a juicy question of the universe, we mix our energies together, and we usually have a pretty good time doing it. So today we are doing a lovely juicy reading on your past life together with whoever's on your mind. Maybe there's a dynamic that you're going through and you're like, where does this stem from? You're curious if it does stem from a past life. You're curious if you did have a past life with somebody. And just unearthing these things carefully as an archaeologist would and blowing all the dust away might help to unearth different patterns that are going on. So with that being said, we do have an anchor card today. So the anchor card isn't one of the choices. It's not one of the piles, but it is sometimes an anchor card just comes out. And so today it did. And this is like a common energy in all of the piles. And we have the mentor, which is actually an interesting one to come out in past lives, and especially to do with dynamics. There's like some type of teachable moment or something here, like a lesson maybe that's unfolding, or take that however it resonates for you, because I do feel like we read the cards together. I pick up on more general messages and you might pick up on something that is more niche for your situation, or like in a subgroup or a subtext or just something specific to your situation. So get a good look, get a good feel for that energy. Hello, hello. Thank you, Emily. The ocean. I'm literally heading to the sea, y'all. Coming with me today. Oh my gosh, how exciting. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to this. So pile number 1 of our choices is the ocean. Pile number 2 is the king. And pile number 3 is the tear. So if you haven't already chosen your pile, now is the time to do that. And even if you have, you can just join with us in our moment of silence where I like to close my eyes, turn that gaze inwards, and allow the energies and the hustle and the bustle and all of the mental activity to just kind of settle down. And I just like to picture that in my mind. Like I kind of picture like under the water and like just kind of the sediment like just settling down towards the bottom, and just take that moment to connect with the inner space, the part of you that is ancient, the part of you that is that observer energy that watches that ego part of you go about its day and is learning and experiencing through that part of you. So and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and be drawn into whatever pile or multiple piles that you are drawn into. Nice. All right, so we'll leave this up here for just a second. And actually, I do, while we're just kind of moving through this, so Alex and I have our 10-year wedding anniversary, and we are going out of town. And so this next week, we're going to move the live stream most likely. We haven't exactly figured out what we're going to do, but Friday is going to be a weird kind of travel day for us. So we won't do the live stream on Friday, but we're thinking about doing it Thursday evening from where we are, but we still have to kind of iron things out. So just letting you know to kind of keep an eye and an ear out. We'll of course like announce when we're going to be able to do that, but I don't think that we're just going to cancel it. I mean, we might, I don't know, but I think that we're just going to maybe plan on doing it Thursday night, so just expect that, but we'll have to like iron out exactly the times, but of course we'll announce that. So thank you. All right, so if you need another extra moment or two with this, you can go ahead and pause it here. But if you're ready, I'm ready. So we'll move into pile number 1, which is the ocean. Oceanic. Okay, let me just take a little drink here first. I got my peach seltzer. Peach is my favorite kind. Okay. So, okay, I already put that up there. Okay, so pile number 1, Spirit. Pile number 1 for past lives. Pile number 1. Okay, I just like got really smiley. And okay, it does feel like, ooh, it feels warm and it feels like happy. I am seeing like beach kind of stuff for this, like conch shells or I just heard like just beachy paraphernalia. It feels like happy. I do feel like maybe water was like a big part of this, even if it wasn't like the ocean proper itself. You know, maybe you were on a big freshwater lake or something, but I feel like water is like central to this past life and community, like water and community. And I do feel though that there is like some type of haziness around this past life. And that's funny because it's kind of juxtaposed in my mind with this, like I'm seeing like a crisp, clear day, like on a beach or something. So it's like juxtaposed because from this life, I feel like that at least that energy or like the happiness from that day or from that time, because I don't know, maybe the energy turned, but that's what they're showing me is like this big snippet is like just this happiness, the warmth, the brightness, the air, the crisp, the water, the community, the love, the laughter, like the fun, the partying, like the fluidity. There's like a kind of social, even like fluidity in this life between you and this person. They're showing me that. And then they're kind of cutting to in this life, that being a bit obscured, and it's obscured for a reason. So even us kind of like tapping around in this, I feel like it's obscured for a reason because there's something here that's being unearthed, some type of secret, something that's like kind of below the ocean waves, something that's below the emotions. And they are kind of showing me, like I just heard salinity. Oh, and then my mind just switched over to the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I feel like maybe that's what you're parsing through in this life. What things can you change? What things are immovable? And it could be in this like relationship, but it could also be like in time and space, you know, like the things that are affecting your relationship. Okay, I think that might be a big key for some of you is like the things that are affecting this relationship might be the big things, like things that are outside of your control, but it's weighing heavily on that beautiful happiness, that beautiful crispness. But I think maybe it has to do with like, you know, the time frame that you're living in and the conditions of that, you know, like if there was, and I'm just throwing things, I'm not really getting this, but like if there was like a big storm or something, I'm kind of wondering if that was like what happened. Okay, I'm just going to say this because it is coming through. You know how people say like in Atlantean times, like times of Atlantis, if you believe in that, if you don't, this is neither here nor there. It's just an example. But you know, they say there was like that big storm that kind of like took it out. That's kind of what I'm getting is like if a big storm rolled through that like happy beach kind of scenario, it maybe separated you, or maybe you were both like high strung in whatever. Yeah, all of a sudden I'm feeling something in my body, like anxiety or something. Like it just feels like there's something kind of bigger than you guys or like outside of your control. This also could be systemic things or like social things, cultural things, you know, that kind of ripped you apart. The order of the day, if you will, that kind of ripped you apart, or a combination of any of all of these things. Whew, and I'm just starting to feel this like, concoction inside of me of like, it's like, I feel like there was a big shift in this life and in this dynamic from like happiness to then like all of a sudden sadness. But it feels like the sadness in this past life was like broader than just like whatever went on between the two of you. But you're kind of hunting is what I'm getting for the truth in this situation. You're hunting for like what's buried beneath the ocean waves. There could be like you know how they say like the next big field of archaeology is underwater scuba diving kind of archaeology, because we like to build on the coasts, don't we? Like as people. And so there's a lot of, you know, I almost said towns. I mean, I guess like towns, cities, civilizations, cultures that are like just off of the coast, you know, of different like continents when the ocean, when the water levels were different and had changed, like, you know. So I feel like maybe that's kind of part of it. And where there's like a connection to a place that's like underwater now. Yeah. And it could have happened like very suddenly, because I am getting that like you saw something here. And I do think you had a crisp vision of something and you had to like leave very quickly. And it does feel like there's a disaster or some type of calamity, but I also just heard calamity. So I don't know why I heard that, but yeah. So, okay, let me just see. I feel like, okay, I just heard a lot went unsaid in that lifetime between the two of you, and possibly because of the timing of certain things. Yeah, something happened. Look, I fear you will never forgive me. But also indecisive. Okay, so some of the themes that we pick up on in the readings in this lifetime, like, I fear you're never going to forgive me. Like somebody here could have been like very indecisive. It could have been something like you wanted to go somewhere. Like you maybe wanted to like leave a place that you guys had known together and like go somewhere, but this person maybe wouldn't come with you, or they weren't sure like if they were going to come with you or not. But I also feel like there was something tempting them, and it feels related to another culture. So it could be like that person that they were like a third party that was like from a different culture or something, or like I don't know, maybe you started trading with a different culture, a different tribe or something, and there was something kind of alluring about that, and it does feel kind of rooted in materialism. Look, indecisive. I know my inability to make a decision hurts you. So I just feel like it fragmented. Something here, somebody stuttered at like a key moment in time, and it feels almost like on the precipice of adulthood, where like you were kids together and you were kind of like growing up, and there was so much happiness, and like just you were like kind of peas in a pod, like very fluid, of one mind almost kind of. And then as you were hit that precipice of adulthood, something happened in it. They're showing me a storm, at least like in the ethers, like energetically there was some type of like storm. And there's, yeah, it's like a dust storm is kind of what I'm getting, but like energetically even. So that really like threw things off here in this connection. So what else can you tell us about that sensitive time period in that past life spirit? It felt like waking up from a dream is what I'm hearing, like, because you guys were so like in sync together that I just feel like, yeah. Okay, personal goals, inner alignment, fear of the unknown, fear of change, playing it safe, and lack of planning. What I'm getting is like the personal goals kind of got in the way. Like I think you had some type of personal goal. And honestly, I kind of feel like you were very smart and shrewd in that lifetime with this owl energy coming through very strong. I feel like you could kind of see something coming, brewing. I just heard storms are brewing. Yeah, like I feel like you could see that there was some type of storm like kind of brewing, and maybe you couldn't exactly explain like why, but you could kind of read the tea leaves, if you will. And I don't mean that in a hokey kind of way. I'm more there's this man that I love to listen to. He was like an orthodontist in his life, but he was fortunate enough to travel the world. He was a photographer, and I think he was just like an amateur photographer in his spare time, but he eventually did like actually publish some of his like photography, and somehow some way I think he went to like some kind of tribe and was like he's a like actual photographer, like he takes photographs of humans and of all different types, but he's like some of his series that he's put out, it's like tribal people from all across the world, and he has shared his stories about like there's a lot of similarities, even though the cultures are so different. There's a lot of similarities in like the structures of the way that they kind of live. But he said they're the PhDs of their region. They know how to. He said he was sitting on a beach with a woman. I think he said it like in Hawaii, or like it was some type of beach culture, and there was a crab that was like throwing sand in a particular manner, and she said, "Oh, the sand he's throwing the sand like this, and so that means." There's a storm that'll be here by such and such time. And that was what happened. They're like the PhDs of their time. So I feel like there's more like that, where you could read the tea leaves of like, you could just kind of see that things were like not really adding up. So I think you were like, we have to go, like, come with me, or that's what I'm hearing, come with me. But I feel like the personal goals, that's like, oh, okay. So it's like, there's something here about like the fluidity and the communal nature, like where you guys are just like so in sync. But then it's like the personal goals that have like that divide. I just heard that have divided you time and time again. So yeah, there's different like personal goals, and the inner alignment, fear of the unknown. And I feel like that goes back to, okay, yeah, the indecisive energy with this person, where like they couldn't really read that, or maybe, I mean, I'm kind of getting it's more them. Like they couldn't really read their own inner alignment and how that differed from fear of the unknown, because I do feel like there was some type of fear arising in this person. There was a fear arising in you, but I think it was a fear that came from you reading like what was going on. There was something that was going on, and it was either like politically, it could have been politically, where you were like, yo, this is like not shaping up to be very good. The time of our past is no longer like, that's shifting, but I feel like it was before most people kind of caught on to it, that you were kind of like, this is done. That time is done. Not just for us, like, because we're moving to a different phase of life. It's just over. Like that time is changing, and this person, I think, had some type of, they dawdled is what I'm getting. Like there's some type of fear here. And look, it says, okay, on the other side here with the Queen of Cups, This one has like writings underneath it. So it says compassion, comfort, calm, nurturing, healing, emotionally stable, intuitive, and caring. I mean, so I do feel like there's a lot of love here, but then there's this like the personal goals. So it's just kind of like at odds. And I feel like you're maybe uncovering that. Yes, you're uncovering that with like some type of warmth and clarity in this lifetime. Yeah. Okay. So this says try one more time right at the top here. Indecision again. Aimless drifting, avoidance, fear of change, fear of loss. I just feel like this person had an immense fear of change and they had like a fear of loss, but it was this fear of loss that was kind of misguided because I feel like you were going to lose everything anyway. Like that's what you were trying to tell this person. You were trying in some way to convince this person you have this fear of loss. The loss is coming. Like we can't stop it, you know? But this person was like gripped by the fear and they were like very obstinate and stubborn and they didn't. It's like they were in denial is what it really is. But that's not the way that they would argue with you. And I think they would keep a lot to themselves too. Like they weren't expressing, and you grew in frustration because you couldn't actually like hash things out. You grew in frustration. Yeah. Like I just am kind of getting that. Like you're not, what is the real hang up here? And this person kind of knew that it didn't make sense, but they were fearful. They were afraid of the unknown. They were afraid of loss. They were afraid of change. But none of those things, I just feel the current like coming up from those things. It's like you couldn't stop it. And you knew that you weren't, whatever this was, it was like bigger than you, bigger than humans, you know, like bigger, these forces. It's like you were never going to make a stand to like the changing of like your cultural time or like, you know, this big storm that was coming in. You couldn't stop the drought from coming or like whatever it was. Like, so you were trying to get this person to kind of understand that. But that's what caused like some type of disconnection. This is the star in reverse that's come out here. So, it says lack of faith, despair. Yeah, there was like a lack of commitment. I just feel like so everything crumbled really quickly is what I'm getting. Like there was just this sudden turnaround and it was this big lack of faith moment because this person was struggling with this fear of loss and everything that I've just been describing. But then I think all of a sudden, like you had a lack of faith. I don't think you wanted to put distance between the two of you. I think you knew that you needed to go like a different way, but, I think you had a sudden awareness and you had to choose your own happiness. So some of these themes could be playing out again in this lifetime. So why highlight this, Spirit? I feel like you actually played a role of mentor to this person in that lifetime. But I also feel like you were friend and caretaker is what I'm hearing. Friend, caregiver. There was a lot of kindness and compassion. And I think it took a lot for you to walk away from this person because it's like you knew what was best for you for sure. And you also knew that like there was no fighting this. So like you couldn't stay is what I'm getting. Like you really could not stay there with this person. You could not stay. But I feel like this person was like so stubborn. This kind of is giving the energy of, and I don't think this was it because I feel like, again, this was like younger in your adulthood where like you were wanting to go on a journey with this person, but it kind of reminds me of like the people who refuse to leave their areas, like when there's evacuation notices and stuff. It actually reminds me of that movie. It was about like a volcano eruption. It was big when I was young. But I always remember this, like there was like this elderly couple that they were giving the evacuation orders. They knew that that it was their time basically. And they were like, it was either a couple or was an older man, but he was like, I'm staying here. I want to die in my home. And like just waited for the volcano to erupt and for him to, get like taken up. It's that kind of energy that's coming off of this other person. So I know that this, everything in this life is not accessible for you because there's some kind of mystery. But if I can poke around it, Spirit, like this mystery that you're kind of uncovering are like the secrets that were exposed. Okay. Like, I think that you really unearthed a lot of courage in that lifetime and a lot of confidence and a lot of independence. Yeah. A lot of independence. And I think you had to work really hard. Again, I feel like you went from some type of communal structure where you fit in like well, and it was happy and things were happy. And then you had to like work really hard because obviously in the community, everybody kind of has their role and has their part and everything, but you had to kind of go your own way. Yeah. And this was a huge emotional loss for you. And maybe you didn't process that in that lifetime just because I feel like you had to work so hard. Yeah. This keeps coming out. It says emotional loss right on the top there. blocked creativity, emptiness, self-love, intuition, and repressed emotions. I feel like there's some repressed emotions from that time period where you had to leave this person behind because you guys were just very suddenly, it feels like, no longer on the same page. You were just very suddenly no longer on the same page. Yeah, and it entered you into a time period of like hustling. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's like this, something here like put you on an entirely new path, but it like kind of put you upright. Whereas I feel like in your childhood, you were kind of just like flowing along here. But it's Pentacles energy, right? Pentacles doesn't exactly like kind of flow. And when the Pentacles, which is like that earth energy, gets overtaken by the water, there's like a mudslide sort of energy, and there's like a loss of foundation, right? Like the earth kind of shifting under structures and stuff. It's not the best. You don't really want that to happen. So I feel like it wasn't really natural to you, but you were a child. And so I feel like you were just kind of getting brushed away. So then this lack of commitment from this person, I think actually flipped you up right here. And it says manifestation here, like at the top, financial opportunity, skill development, ambition, desire, and diligence. I feel like it awakened all of these things in you. And I feel like you had to go. I'm just hearing follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road. So I feel like you had to kind of like move on in some type of way, but there was a dream shattered in this. And I feel like the energy of that, like the emotions, they weren't processed in that lifetime. I think probably because this feels real. Like this feels like survivalist. Like you had to focus on survival. You had to pick yourself up, you know? And also, like, there could have still been, like, a delay or a frustration, or you were still kind of, like, holding off. Maybe you thought, like, that this person would come around. It feels open-ended. Like, there's something about this that's, like, very open-ended, where you kind of felt like this person would come around. Maybe they felt like you were going to come around. Both of you were like, the other person's going to come to their senses. They're going to realize that I'm right, and we're going to, like, rejoin, and we're going to be the best of buds like we used to be in the past. And I just don't think that really happened. I think, like, yeah, there was, like, maybe a manifestation of trying to recapture that, or maybe thinking, okay, we're going to be apart for a while, but then we're going to kind of come back. But I don't think that ever happened in that life. And I feel like there was like repressed emotions, sadness. Again, okay, so I feel like that's the salt that I'm getting from the ocean is like tears. But it's like, I don't think the tears were cried in that lifetime. I think it was kept inside of you. And that's like this secret energy that the ocean is hiding. Because once you start crying it and the ocean starts depleting from inside of yourself, I feel like it reveals the kind of bare bones. Look, okay, secrets. So we have the High Priestess in reverse. Sometimes I like to read the words, and I'm just really feeling drawn to the words here. Secrets, harm, hidden agenda, disconnected from intuition, withdraw, silence, selfish, shallowness, ignorance, and misunderstanding. Try one more time. Yeah, I feel like there was like some type of fundamental misunderstanding here. And that maybe this had completed. But there was like, yeah, an inner truth that was hard to face. And I feel like it was just kind of stormy to face it. And it like put you in a mood or something, you know? But I think, yeah, you were trying to really manifest. I think you were trying to really manifest that path for yourself. And I think this was mirrored on both sides, where like you were kind of going off in your own way and you're like, I'm going to build myself up in a certain way. But I feel like your person stayed there and was like, okay, well, I'm going to build this up in a certain way. And so you guys were building, but you were building kind of like apart from one another. Yeah. And I think also you built your self-worth. It like you were pouring this, like, I'm seeing solar plexus energy. Like you were building that solar plexus energy, but you were building it apart. And so I think that each kind of hoping to magnetize the other one towards your way of being. But I feel like there really was a split. So tell us about that split. Okay, so I want to go. Okay. Okay, maybe. Okay, I just heard false success and I will never forgive myself. Okay, so, okay. Because I saw the card that we had pulled last time before I went to shuffle, and it said something like, I fear you will never forgive me. But I feel like that was a projection of like, I will never forgive myself. Like, I'm afraid that I'll never forgive myself. And I feel like one or both of you is kind of struggling with that. Look, fated meeting, just being near you is intoxicating. So it could be that somebody met somebody else is kind of what I'm getting. Crossroads. I hope that one day you can forgive me. Yeah, so there was a crossroads. There's several crossroads. This is a meeting marked by the crossroads is what I'm getting. But if you layer crossroads, like you get further and further away. And it's not like, okay, so once you have one crossroads, it's like, am I going to go left or am I going to go right? And this person went left and you went right, kind of a thing, right? They stayed and you went is kind of what I'm getting. And then like on your path, you hit another crossroads. It's like, hey, am I going to go left or am I going to go right? So even if this person wants to come after you, it's like they're going to hit this other cross. It's like exponentially now harder for them to find you because it's like, okay, then they have to hit this other crossroads and then they don't know if you went left or right. I mean, I guess you could leave like some type of marker, but is it going to wash away in the rain or something? Like what is the climate like? You know, is somebody going to take it that sees it before? You know, it's like that, you know? So I think that there's some regret here. Both of you were very precious to one another. There was like a lot of love here, but it's like, I think there's something that I think, this is funny because I definitely feel like whoever left, like knew that they had to leave. Like they were looking at the lay of the land and there was something they couldn't argue with. And it felt very much like facts, you know, like that they could not argue with. And I think that's kind of overlooked emotionally. Like when you look back on the situation where I think some of you are like, maybe I just should have stayed and maybe I just should have, you know, tried to work it out with that person because we had such a special bond and such a special connection. And I think the other person is like, well, maybe I just should have like left. And I am getting more that that person really could have left and like come on the journey with you because theirs was like a fear of loss and a fear of, it was fear. It was like some type of fear energy that seemed delusional. Like it didn't seem in alignment with reality. But maybe I'm kind of getting this wrong because it felt to me like I'm getting this owl energy of like really seeing clearly in the dark, seeing what couldn't be seen, where it's like, we got to go. And then another person arguing with that in their mind and like actually staying. So maybe that person is like, well, maybe I should have taken a chance and like kind of gone with them. I'm grateful for the spiritual lesson. I was like, what can you tell me about that? I'm grateful. So I feel like that was maybe a spiritual lesson. So, yeah, I do feel like there was some kind of schmegdual sneaking around. Soulmate, spiritual attacks. Yes, with somebody thought that somebody here was a soulmate, but it was actually a spiritual attack. And I kind of feel like it was the person that stayed put. And that doesn't have to be you guys playing the same roles in this lifetime, by the way. But I feel like somebody here they sat in the same energy. They refused to change, even though like there's something on the horizon where it's like they needed to change. And that could be playing out in this lifetime in a myriad of ways because it could just be like, I need to upgrade my worldview. You know, like the way that I'm viewing this situation, whatever's holding this person back is totally malleable is what I'm getting. Like from making some type of leap of faith, from making some type of change in their life. Because it could be that they need to apologize, but men never apologize. Strong men never apologize. But it's time for them to update their worldview. See what I'm saying? Like these kinds of themes could be playing out in this lifetime in different ways. So I think that it was in their denial. They were, they met somebody who aligned with that denial energy. Obviously, because they're in denial and they're reading the tea leaves wrong. Somebody was reading the tea leaves correctly and like moved, even though it was tough, and they had to muster up some type of courage, and they had to go on their own way and kind of like. And I feel like that was the hope that in this lifetime you guys were like, we have to go carve out our own way, kind of a thing. I just heard you can go your own way. Sometimes I hear that song. But somebody wasn't ready. Somebody was like clinging. They clung to the fear, and they stayed. So they met somebody or something. There was a shiny opportunity that they thought it presented itself as like this soulmate energy. And they took it as validation that their denial was reality and that their delusion was reality when it really wasn't. And that was actually some form of like spiritual attack. And I think things moved like very quickly, but the universe was trying to give them like intuitive hits. It was trying to kind of nudge them to clear their mind, to clear their heart, to balance themselves out, to spend some time like alone on the mountain, you know, like reflecting on what was keeping them there, because what was keeping them there was just fear. But they didn't want to process that. They needed to, I think, apologize for something. They needed to own up to something, or they needed to arrange like a meeting. And they needed to kind of realize that they were at rock bottom, and that nobody makes them feel the way that you did. And also somehow this connects to self-love for both of you, because maybe your self-worth was hit when this person didn't go with you. Their self-worth, I think, was a problem. Look, caught. They got caught doing something. And I don't know what it was. I mean, I kind of feel, look, busted, detective work, secrets exposed, surprised and shocked. I'm afraid to contact you. So somebody here maybe they got caught thinking the grass was greener. And then look, it says finances. Financial challenges are affecting this connection, and I wish I could share my good news with you. I feel like somebody basically took the easy way out. But the way this is coming through is like, okay, you guys were like of one culture in this past life. You guys were playing as kids, blah, blah, blah. It's like almost like you got conquered or something by another culture, and this person like went with the conqueror. Like there was something like somebody in that destroyed your way of life. And that's just the truth of like whatever it was, you know? Like whatever that force, it destroyed everything that you guys loved together. Everything that your connection was built on. And this person was a coward and like basically went along with that. But I feel like in their mind, they were in some type of denial. This feels like Stockholm syndrome as well. Like if you can't beat them, join them is what I'm getting. Like this person like kind of like joined up with like the forces that were like against the two of you being together. And they thought that was like maybe their path. Like, but it was just their mind trying to okay everything that they did, their cowardice basically. And so I feel like cowardice is a big thing for one of you, like to overcome that cowardice and to fight against, to actually take a stance against something here, like someone, something, everything that they stand for that ruins and erodes like the purity and the sweetness and the actual flow of their soulmate life and their soulmate connection and their actual path that they were meant to go on. And so I think that they profited handsomely at first, but I do think that they gave up their pride. I think they gave up their culture. I think they gave up their love, their innocence, that childlike part of their natural self. I think that's what they sacrificed on the altar of this like greed, whatever it was. Their true human self is what I'm getting. Like they're just like who they are naturally without being bent by the forces that kind of came in that way. And I think they got caught in doing that somehow. They got caught in a trap of doing that. I think eventually in that lifetime they realized like what a mistake that they had made. But I just think that this person's very repressed in those emotions. Look, this isn't over between us. I'm coming back for you. So I think after this person had been on a journey with somebody that they shouldn't have been on, and it feels like it was a journey through their shadow self. I just heard, what is the mate to cowardice? Like, because that's whoever, it's like a faux strength, wouldn't it be? Like they just said, think about what would cowardice choose as a mate? That's who they chose. And so, I think they were telling themselves, oh, it's this twin flame thing, like where I am weak, you are strong, but this is cowardice. So it's, what would cowardice choose as a mate is like kind of what they're saying. So, but I'm seeing this like kind of murky energy. So it was all like, it was kind of like that was their time period where Scar had taken over Pride Rock. Like that's how they lived for a while, but they were just trying to be, this is like they were trying to be in the best subordinate position that they could, kind of a thing. Yeah. So they surrendered basically is kind of what I'm getting to something. And you left. And it was harder for you. So financially, like whatever that meant back in the day, like your resources and stuff. I think that, you know, I'm seeing you kind of like hack your way through the jungle, like just eating whatever you could kind of a thing. But I do think eventually you prospered, but you also had your freedom in a different way. And so you are kind of incompatible in that way. And so that split between you still exists, where I feel like this person has kind of like this, it's like crippling cowardice, you know, molding themselves forever into a shoe that doesn't fit them. And then there's you that overcame that. I'm not saying you didn't have your own problems and other things you were kind of working through, but this split between the two of you of like, there's this remembrance that has to be kind of like rediscovered, and it can only be rediscovered through tears. Cause I feel like this person probably did cry a lot of tears. I just heard cry me a river. Like it feels like that. It feels like an entire ocean. It feels like an entire river because they sold themselves out. This doesn't just have to do with you. You were definitely part of that path, but they sold out like their dream life is what I just heard. Like the actual life that they were meant to live, all of it. Like they sold out the future that they could have had, the kids that they could have had, the partner that they could have had, the career that they could have had. They sold all of it out, like, to just kind of settle in this like misery. And okay, I just heard misery business from Paramore. I'm in the business of misery. Let's take it from the top. She's got a body like an hourglass. It's ticking like a clock. So it's a matter of time before we all run out. But when I thought he was mine, she caught him by the mouth. Yeah, I waited 8 long months. She finally set him free. So that's a time period. I don't know. That's just like the kind of energy. But the ticking like a clock is what's standing out. Like there's time here. Like time, you got to make a decision here. But there was like a temptation but the temptation was like towards their own weakness and their own cowardice. But I feel like whoever they chose must have been whatever the partner to cowardice is. So they must have thought this is something that's going to glamorize me, or this is something that's going to solidify me. This is the answer to my cowardice and my weakness. But really, no, that's not at all what went on. And they couldn't just take a step back and read the energy. Like, this person invading my village and tearing apart everything that I love is the energy of what they are. Like, they didn't look at, they lied to themselves a lot about that. So, but you went your own way. And so there's this chasm, there's this split between you where it's like there's this remembrance of being soulmates and of getting along so well. And then there's this split that can't be reconciled until one of you, like, but I feel like it's like just being near you is intoxicating because there's that familiarity, there's that remembrance. Look, this isn't over between us. Yeah, I never expected to fall in love with you so quickly. So I feel like this person maybe does fall in love very quickly, and just woman to woman, I just don't think that you should ever be too flattered at being able to attract a man. I don't think it's very hard to do. My life has just shown me that. Like, no, like, I'm not trying to throw shade or anything. My life has just shown me that. Like, which is when you see the situations that men get themselves involved in, schmeggerly, with whom, under what circumstances, you're just kind of, it's not very flattering. I think it's way more flattering to have a woman be attracted to you. That's just my personal opinion, and it might be short-sighted. I'm not sure. But I just feel like in the past life, that person, like, was in love with you. You were familiar to them, though. And, like, then whoever this was that they, like, told themselves that they fell in love with, it was just an easy out. They fell in love with the easy out is kind of what I'm getting. It wasn't actually love. It was just it felt like all the pressure was off of them. Cowardice. Like, it's just, they were kind of feeding that cowardice. And with you, I just feel that now in this lifetime, they fell in love with you very quickly. And that is, like, kind of confusing them. But it's genuine love. It's all the love that was there that they kind of, like, took a big shit on in the past life. Tasha, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. Yeah. So I feel like this person is, like, they're in the same pattern, but it's, like, still dawdling at the crossroads of, like, moving towards you, where they kind of feel like they're aimlessly drifting. Again, they're afraid of, like, change, because it feels like maybe in this life things are inverted, where now this person is with that person that they kind of went with instead of you, and they would have to make some type of change. They would have to do what you did to be kind of on your level, what you did in the past life with this owl energy, where you saw, like, you were reading the tea leaves of, like, this cannot go on. This person is not for me. This is leading me down the wrong road. Like, and then they would actually have to embrace change, be brave, go independent, like, in some way, make a courageous change towards you. They have to rectify their mistake. They actually have to bridge the gap. This person has to bridge the gap, because I do kind of feel like you waited. And I think that there was something where you had to choose yourself. You were like, I can't. It's not something here in the past life. It was just not an option for you to stay, because I feel like you would have been crushed. I feel like you would have been. This worked out for this person because they were basically a useful idiot. Like, they were some type of useful tool. Like, whoever they were with was like, I can use this, even if it's just to fuck them, you know, and, like, maybe try to, use them as a slave. Basically, they were their property more than anything. Like, I don't know. This is not a partnership or anything. And it's disrespectful, and it's kind of gross, disgusting. Like, I just heard the energy that's here. They felt like they could use that. Well, you would have just been in the way, so you would have been, like, ended. And that's the energy that your person has chosen to court in that past life and also in this life, because they're in denial. And I think you left because I think you saw the writing on the wall. But had you stayed, I think this person would have witnessed your death in a gruesome manner, possibly by the person that they chose, that they love, supposedly. That person would have ordered your death, or they would have actually been responsible for it. Like, either way, I feel like pretty directly. And so they've actually courted, like, your enemy is what I'm getting, like, your actual enemy. And that's us. I think that's part of the secret that you're, like, meant to kind of uncover here. So anything else to do with this, like, mystery or, like, secret energy? I would definitely date you, Chess. Wow. Okay. That's very nice. Thank you for saying that. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I feel like this person was just cold in a past life. They took some bad advice, and it was really, really cold. And I think that, again, like, I'm seeing that 10 of Swords energy, like, very painful ending, very permanent ending, like, very split kind of ending. it was like this person was considering this other this other offer, you know, and I don't even know if it came from like, I want to say like these invading forces or conquering forces, but it's like their friend. They had a friend who was like, yeah, and they said that, you know, they'll give us our own homes and they'll give us this if we just cooperate with the plan. Like if we just go along with them, if we just sell out our tribe, our history, if we just sell out, you know, if we don't make our own stand, they'll do this and they'll do that. And so this person, like when you were like, let's go, we got to go. Like this person was like, huh. Like going back and forth. And I don't think they were like being honest about that. Coming clean, deception, self-deceit, keeping secrets. Yeah, they were keeping secrets. So there's like secrets are kind of like foundational in this. Like this person keeps secrets from you because they are courting their own best interest at the expense of you, because that's the big kicker here. It's not just that they're courting their own best interest. Their best interest in this past life ended you, baby. It ended you like in a gruesome way. So this is like a level beyond like them just courting their own interests. Okay. This was like this is betrayal. This is cold-blooded betrayal. This is cold. And there you sat at a precipice where you're like, come with me, like build a life with me. And this person was like plotting your demise. And maybe they were trying to block that out, but I can just see it. Like that should have been the one thing they looked at, and that would have been clear enough. You know, and I feel like their soul kind of hung in the balance there. And I just saw like a coin flip. This person was treating that like a coin flip, you know, should I stay or should I go? And then sided with like just very, very destructive forces. Again, I'm hearing who courts cowardice. Think about who courts cowardice. Okay, so have you ever known that when like terrible people take over, they use the malevolent? They do. But they also just use cowards. And people who are ignorant. And I feel like your person fell into those categories, unfortunately. But yeah, that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting. Or, you know, the energies could be reversed. We all do make mistakes. And it's hard to be brave. Like in the face of all this, if you really put yourself in this circumstance, I feel like it's really hard to be brave. I think that's something that you kind of understood though, which is why you were like, we have to get out of here. Like there's no way we win this. I feel like it was something where it's like, there's no way that we come through the other side. Everything is going to change. Everything is being destroyed. It's being like dismantled. And so you had the foresight to be like, now is the time, like for all of us to go, basically, you know, everybody's got to, you know, move. And, cause you kind of knew like staying, it's like they say, never go to the grocery store hungry, because then it's like a battle, you know, like you're standing in the chip aisle and you're like, you've got 4 different kinds of chips, like in your arms, you know, it's like, that's an uphill battle. Why put yourself in that position? You know, because now it's like, but imagine this is like a moral conundrum. You know, now you're in a moral conundrum where you were like, I don't need Sophie's Choice to play out every single day. And then for me to hate myself for the rest of my life, I got to go now. Like, you know, and this person was playing Sophie's Choice with you and you lost, I think. So, yeah. So that's playing out here where this person just, this reminds me too of like, they say courage is the most important of the virtues because it's the virtue upon which all other virtues rest. You cannot carry out your other virtues if you are not going to be brave and courageous in the face of fear, you know? Again, easier said than done. And a lot of us are learning that now. But yeah, so I just feel that there was something where you were being adaptable. You were trying to be adaptable. So that's what I have for you guys, pile number 1. That's what I have for you guys. 1 second. Here we go. All right. I'll throw this back up here. And we just finished pile number 1 if you are joining us. And we're moving on to pile number 2, which is the King. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Interesting. All right. All right. Compassion, compassion, compassion. All right. I'm just going to move right in here to this next reading. All Does anxious attachment partner cowardice because neither grows, one in fear and one in enablement? Does anxious attachment partner cowardice, neither grows, one in fear and one in enablement? I think you're asking if like when people have like an anxious attachment style, whether it's like anxious or avoidant, if they are if they both have cowardice, one in fear and one in enablement. I mean, I definitely think there's fear. I don't think I understand your question. Okay, so if you're ready, I'm ready. Let us move to pile number 2. All right, Spirit, for pile number 2. Okay, we have bad news that just came through. Bad news. I just heard bad news bears. Okay, so there was some type of bad news that came through in this past life. So Spirit, what can you tell us about this past life that's playing out between these two people? Just got here. Welcome, welcome. All right, Spirit. Ooh. Okay, Spirit. What went on here in this past life? Okay. Is this different energy? Different energy here for pile number 2. Okay. Hold on. I just want to shuffle again because I just want to make sure this is like a different energy that's coming through. Maybe I'll grab this deck. Oh, this wasn't the deck that I used, but okay. Okay, new energy here for pile number 2, Spirit. What happened here in the past life here in pile for pile number 2? Okay, now this is interesting. Okay, so there's definitely layers to what happened here in this past life. And I feel like, okay, so we have the Emperor, the 7 of Cups, and the 9 of Wands. And I feel like these are actually all different people that played a role here in this very confusing situation here with these 7 of Cups. And so I feel like, when I say this is you and your person, and I don't know who this person is because it might have been a love interest in that life. It could have been a sibling. It could have been a friend. But I feel like somebody here was like trying to decide, or they were trying to make some type of decision. They were trying to like explore their options. But I feel like their options had been cleverly like placed in front of them by this Emperor energy. And it literally could have been a father. I'm actually kind of getting that. It literally could have been a father, but this is like a very controlling father. Maybe this father was like very well off or like had accomplished certain things, but they had a kind of power over this person. So I feel like this father figure, whoever it was like giving this person the illusion of choice. But I do think that there's at least one option that the father didn't put in front of this person. And I think that that may have been you, or it could have involved you in some kind of way. But look at her here in this like very defensive posture. And also like she's holding one of the ace, like she's holding a wand. So she's like holding the Ace of Wands. So I feel like, and also she does look kind of like on higher ground here. Like I want to say like kind of superior ground. It's kind of giving me a 4 of Cups vibe, which is like, this is the higher cup. But it's like somebody here would have to connect with their like fire force energy. But I feel like your person they weren't connected with their fire force energy at the time that they were making this decision. And I feel like that was all kind of by design because this father figure is sitting on Mars, the emblem of Mars, which is that fiery planet. And I was just listening to the Upanishads, like some of the Upanishads the other day. And they were talking about how fire is such a divine element because it's like the revealer. It kind of, without fire in our lives, then none of the manifestations that are here like upon the earth would even be revealed. Even if they did exist, like, without the fire, it's not illuminated. It's not like it's the revealer. So I feel like this father was very strategic about, I really think, trying to cripple this sun energy. And maybe this was you in the past life, or maybe this was like your person, but they were really strategic and clever in trying to clip his wings, basically, but without the sun realizing that his wings were being clipped, basically. So he was being held back, but very strategically, he was being sabotaged, but like by his own father, and under the guise of, I'm trying to help you plan your future. I'm trying to help you be strategic here. But the one thing that the father didn't teach the son here is how to go about being in the driver's seat and making your own decisions, what that should feel like, and how like to not be afraid to fall on your butt and make a mistake, and like to get back up, and like that courage and that kind of like strength, so instead was like leaving his son to make this decision here. He should have been basically he would kind of do something here where he's like, I don't know, like you gotta make your own choices. You gotta make your own choices, which is kind of like true, but he wasn't telling him how to like sift through and consider his own choices. He just left him to be overwhelmed emotionally and otherwise by a lot of these like different options. Then some of them were intentionally opaque, and the father figure could have demystified some of those, or could have taught the son how to like demystify them for himself, but didn't do that because he was waiting for his son to choose the wrong thing, basically, something that would cripple him so that he would have a distorted view of himself and his abilities as his own Mars energy. Mars being like brave and willing to kind of like go out there and like choose for himself, so that his own confidence in himself and in his own emperor abilities, like his ability to become his own emperor in his own life, would be diminished. And so he would clip his wings and kind of always be subservient to the father and fall into the father's plans and the father's strategies. And I think in some way you saw this, or you were I think you put up your defenses because this guy was in this energy. This like choosing energy was very confusing, and it was like a kind of stagnant sort of, I don't know, energy. And not much was like materializing here, like with this guy. So you, even though you offered, like you had this like Ace of Wands, I feel like that's kind of, you and the father might have something in common here, like where you have your own fire source, basically. And that's what the father didn't want the son to have. And the son doesn't have his own, but you have your own. And you would definitely, it behooves you, if you're going to partner with this guy, to help him get in touch with his own fire and like to, again, teach him how to make these decisions and stuff. But I feel like it just fell on deaf ears because this son would kind of think like, well, if that's so true and that's how you're supposed to do it, then why wouldn't my father say that? Because my father's so accomplished, or he really looked up to the father, whether he should or he shouldn't have, because yes, this is the emperor. And maybe some of these people's fathers really had accomplished something, I feel like, especially in business, like worthy of like looking up to. But even though I still feel like it was Mars, like it was, men are supposed to become the sun or Jupiter. And yet you've got a father here that sits upon the throne of Mars. So I'm just not really buying it. Like maybe does a really good job with the noble act, but is not truly the sun, is not truly Jupiter, like is actually just Mars. So he's wily. He is strategic in a way that has like provided him, I think, luxury or comfort or something. For some of these people, that's true. For others, I feel like these father figures are just like ABUSIVE, and but they mask that as being masculine or like something worthy of emulating and looking up to. And the son is just like drowned in that. So there's some type of bad news. And I feel like that's a shared energy actually between all of you, where the father got bad news that the son was confused and like weighing his options. And the father was like, I told you what to think. I told you basically what to choose, even though he didn't. And this is reminding me of that scene in Emma, even though, so I don't know, take it or leave it with the gender stuff, because in Emma, it's women that are doing this. So Emma is the wealthy daughter of like this kind of nobleman, and she's, she likes to matchmake in her spare time, and she kind of takes on this pet project. I can't remember her name, but she's lives at the orphanage, and she's getting ready to kind of age out of the orphanage. So in that time, she needed to like be married, and so Emma is thinking about like what match she can make for her, and she's trying to strategically make her the best match she could materially. And so she's saying, we mustn't talk about your past. It all has to be kind of like opaque. But this little orphan girl actually likes the farmer, like the farmer's son. And Emma doesn't like that because the farmer, she says this one line where she's like, the farmer is just as like, she says something about her notice. Like he's just as much above her notice as he is below her notice, because if he were a degree or two lower, meaning like he was self-sufficient, like the farmers, they were not wealthy and they were not like the noble class, the gentry or whatever, but they were self-sufficient. So if he were a degree or two lower in poverty, that might interest her, because then she could help him, and that that's an activity she is expected and meant to do as the noble person, So it's not like she's helping out of the goodness of her heart. She's doing it as a part of this class game. So she steers the orphan girl away from like the farmer that was independent on his own, but she's trying to angle her to get like a big fish, like she wants her to marry the preacher guy, which Jane Austen like kind of famously doesn't really like the preacher people because of the way that she portrays them in her writing. She says they're all drunks, they're all self-absorbed, and like she gives you this this kind of played out to be true when you look at the scandals to do with abuse in the church, and how Christians never you don't ever hear about huge protests that says you will stop touching little kids. None of us are coming back or giving you our offering. You never hear that. And it's because they don't live out their values, and people would take them much more seriously. But I digress. But yeah, so it's something here like that, where I feel like the father, or in this case, like the Emma figure, somebody that had a strategy here. And it's really for their own self-aggrandizement, where this person, in the example I just gave, like that little orphan girl, or like, again, this son figure, like kind of fits into that. So they got some type of bad news that it's like, well, this person's faltering on the plan. And Emma in that scene, she is quiet, the orphan is like, should I, the farmer asks her to marry him, and she's like, what should I say? She clearly wants to, but she's like, what should I say? Because she's looking for Emma's approval. And I feel like the son is like looking for the father's approval. And Emma is not facing her and does not turn around. And she gets very quiet at a strategic time. And then she says, not for the world would I advise you either way. But really, all of her nonverbal cues advised her to not say yes in order to get her approval. And as soon as she says, perhaps, his name was Mr. Martin. She says, perhaps I should refuse Mr. Martin. And she says it as a question. And then Emma like perks up and gets happy. So she's like giving her all like the signals. So that's what I feel like is going on here. I want to say this is between a father and a son. That is like, a son is very like confused when he finds out that he's considering an option, either in you as a partner, or like just a path in life that he wants to go down that would, I think, eventually lead to you or align more closely with you, and this like passionate new beginning, and him actually picking up his own fire force. The father was very strategic in that way, in kind of like moving him away. So that was like bad news for the father. For the son, it was bad news that maybe the father didn't like support him. And that was what was confusing to the son, because the son saw his father as like this fire energy. He recognized that same fire energy with you, or on the path to you in himself. He recognized it. And he was genuinely shocked that the father, or whoever this like emperor figure is that he was looking for his approval, he was genuinely shocked when he brought back that option and the father turned it down or was not impressed. Because he doesn't understand that the father is trying to sabotage him in order to keep him codependent upon him. He doesn't want him to find his independence. And I think the father would deny that, because I think it's stuffed down into the father's shadow and subconscious. I don't think he wakes up and thinks to himself, I'm trying to sabotage my son. I don't want him to be better than me, do better than me, find his own confidence. I have certain things that I'm trying to accomplish like in my life, and I need to use him as a pawn. I need him to like not be married for the next couple of years so I can send him on this excursion and that excursion. And then I need him to marry this nobleman's daughter so that I can have access to their cattle and move it over here. Like that's kind of what went on in this past life. That's what he was kind of doing. But he didn't want to say that out loud, because the son probably doesn't want to be a pawn, and is like, well, I kind of had a mind to live my own life, and that's not what went on. But I think was genuinely the son got bad news when the father didn't support this like fire energy, him finding his own spark, him finding his own confidence in his own path, which is kind of what the lip service in the home had been. It was kind of venerating this Mars energy. And so when the father turned it down, he got confused and he was like, well, hey, that must not have been what my father was talking about. But it was. He had found it on his own. But the father was like, nope, I don't want you to be independent. I don't want you to kind of go on the path. He wants the son to maybe follow in his footsteps and take over his business or something. But the actual soul path that the father traversed to finding his own footing in the world, finding his own signature, creating his own life and creating his own path and having the confidence to do that. He didn't want the son following down that path, you see? But if he wants to sell corn like the father did and take over the business, or if he then he can do that. That's the path. He wants him to follow the material path that the father has laid out, but not the actual spiritual path of becoming his own man or his own person or her own person, like whoever this was. So that was the bad news for the son. And then for you, the bad news was this was like a fantasy and it's not materializing. And you don't really know why. And it's because the son is now confused and is like thinking about the other options that this father kind of like implanted in his mind without him kind of realizing it. And the son is at a disadvantage here because he's young, his brain is not developed, and he's reliant upon the father probably for, a place to stay and things like that. He hasn't built his own yet. And I think he expected the father to be a help and not a hindrance in that. So it's a lot to get used to if he's going to have to like completely go on his own, and probably he's never lived in poverty before. Maybe father has and actually built himself up. And then it's this weird kind of like, you have it better than I ever had it. I don't want to ever hear you complain about this or that. It's confusing. All of this is very confusing for the son. And so everybody here has to kind of like turn a corner in their soul and kind of take responsibility here. And this is a very spiritual kind of aspect towards like victory or success. So I feel like you, this is kind of similar to pile number one, but it's kind of different vibes and much more specific. Where I feel like you had to come down off of like a high that you were with about this person. Like you guys, I think really maybe were planning a future together and like kind of ran away with yourselves. And it was shocking that this father didn't give his approval, but I don't think this masculine was honest with you about that. And so you moved on to pursue your own success. And I do think it was a bumpy ride. Yeah, and I think that you just had to get very Queen of Swords about it. Just very honest. It could have been that you guys had a child, maybe here, out of wedlock as well. But you had to, be very pragmatic. You learned a lot. Yeah, something moved you away from him. Like just his wishy-washy sort of attitude. Yeah. That message keeps repeating. But there's still like a cord here between the two of you. Like I said, you could have had a child together in that past life. So let me just see. Yeah, this really rocked you, actually. And that's funny because I didn't really get that impression. I just kind of saw you like moving along with this, like really rocked you. Because you felt like a fool. Maybe for jumping in with this guy, or I feel like you just trusted. I feel like you just trusted and kind of bolted on out of there, even though there was love. And it's almost like you had to dead an entire life. I feel like you completely reinvented yourself. And I actually think that you prospered. Like eventually you were prosperous and you were like very stable. And I think you were everything that the father was telling the son that you weren't going to be together, where it's like, oh, that's going to be too hard. And I think it was hard. I don't think it was meant to be easy. And I think that was your attitude. I think you have very salt of the earth kind of pragmatic attitude. Like, yeah, it's like, what would be the purpose if it was easy? Like if everybody could do it, like we want to prove to ourselves that we can do hard things, right? And otherwise, like, what's the point, I had the world's softest hands that never knew labor. Like, what's the point? And so let me just see. And he moved on. Some of you didn't give this guy a choice. Because the very fact that he was dawdling like this, you were seeing man in him. You were seeing that fire force energy. And then you didn't see it anymore. You were like, oh, like the fact that he was like dawdling, he wasn't. And I think, again, for some of you, there's like a kid involved or something. And you were like, no, now if I can be strong and act, you need to be strong and act. What are you doing? Like this scared the shit out of you, to be honest, because you were thinking, I'm dealing with a man. And then you saw the little boy and looking for his dad's approval. The rain be wavy. Thank you so much for the super chat. You are a light in the dark that leads others back into the sun. Oh, when you stand in your own authenticity, you empower others to do the same. Oh, thank you so much. And then like the yellow of that too, like that might actually be relevant to this like entire group, that energy that just came through. But yeah, so I feel like you both moved on from like each other in this kind of energy, this like very sad, tumultuous, depressed, kind of energy. And you both like moved on independent. This is kind of the same undercurrent energy in pile 1, but this is definitely a more specific scenario. So I feel like there'll be those who picked pile number 1, and it could have been like anything, but this is like definitely a specific kind of scenario. And this, I do think this man was heartbroken, because I feel like for a lot of you did leave, like you didn't give, because you had to, like, it feels like a big death energy though. And I feel like he was heartbroken, and I feel like he was just dawdling. And he was trying to cling to something. I feel like he was trying to cling to boyhood, where he was still trying to take his marching orders from dad. And dad was kind of mirroring back that he was lacking in something here. I don't know, but I don't think you were really fully aware. Like, you didn't really grasp that entire picture. And he definitely doesn't grasp the whole picture with his dad, that he's basically his dad's puppet, you know? Because dad said, I want to teach you how to be a man. And so he took him at face value. But really, he's trying to hold him back and make him dependent. Okay, so let me just see. Yeah, for him, it was like go his own way, but it's coming through Aquarius. So it's like he had to buck tradition in some way, or like follow tradition and be like very sad and crippled in his soul, like in his energy. And that's kind of what I'm getting, is like he was always going to be lacking in that path. And I don't actually think that path ended up the way that he thought it was going to, because it was always meant to cripple him. It was meant to make him dependent. And the father, I think, thought he could control like this guy's success. So it's like, you'll have as much success as I deliver to you. But I don't think the father could really control that, because he's only in a Mars energy, really. He's not in a sun energy. He's not in a Jupiter energy. So he doesn't have true wisdom, and he's not connected to anything that has that true wisdom. It's just, he learned how to be sneaky, is what I want to say. He learned how to be like kind of strategic. So I think this all like eventually kind of crumbled, but within his soul, he feels lacking, because there is a part of him that knows that he was meant to pick up that fire force and actually take on the mantle of being his own independent person. And that would have actually been the model of the father that he should have followed. And he actually didn't, when he just sucked up to the teat of dad and let dad tell him what to do. Because that's not what his father would have done. His father lied to him, basically. That's not what his father would have done. His father would have told his father to go kick rocks, and maybe did. And, you know, like his father would have had a strong personal conviction. He would have known what he wanted, and he would have set out to make his own mistakes, is what I just heard. You need to respect me, that I'm my own man and I'm my own person, and I'll make my own mistakes. Thank you very much. Like, but that's, your guy doesn't have that fire force kind of energy, and that's the problem. But you represented that actual path. Yeah, you were always the empress here. And for some of you, I really do think that you were pregnant, or like you had kids together. Yeah, I think that's a clarifying. And also that was the path. Ironically, it's like this guy had to buck tradition in some kind of way. So maybe you got pregnant before you got married. You know, back in the time, that was like a big scandal. Well, it was either a big scandal, or like going earlier, like there was kind of people just sort of lived their lives, you know, where it's like they got together with somebody, just formed a family. There wasn't necessarily like a town even to go into to go like get married or something, you know? So, but I just feel like maybe you did something out of order, but I can see that was the path forward that led to this like abundance energy. And that's the path that you kind of did go down, whereas he did go down the path of like lack. But there's illusion. There's an illusion of traditionality, which tells me that he's not traditional. This setup is not traditional, which tells me probably the men cheat all the time, you know, but it's like, oh, we have morals and virtues, and, you know, we believe in the nuclear family. Meanwhile, there's like 3 hoes on the side, you know, and no offense to the hoes. I'm just saying, like, that's just, they're not what they're pretending to be, you know? Yeah. Look, I said 3 hoes on the side, and we had the 3 cups. You know, yeah, I feel like this person like broke the heart of the person that they were supposed to be the King of Pentacles, actually the King of Pentacles for. And it's funny, because bucking tradition in some kind of way was their path to nobility, but that wasn't what they were taught. And the reason they weren't taught that is because somebody was trying to keep them under control. They didn't want to give them the lesson of like, sometimes you have to follow your own kind of gut instinct. You have to know thyself, which is the foundation of all wisdom. Know thyself. Like if you know your own strengths and weaknesses, when your father is trying to tell you to go into something that you know you're not good at, and you know you don't have any interest in and stuff, it's like, how are you ever supposed to turn that into an abundance energy? You know, like you'll make yourself miserable the whole time. So what's the point? You know, it's like, it's that kind of a thing. So this person had to buck tradition. They had to choose like a different path than their, and that's the path, ironically, paradoxically, that was going to end up having them, whatever they valued in the father, because I don't think they see this father very clearly, but whatever they thought the father was, that was like strong, and they would have actually become that had they gone down that like path. Okay. Three of Cups is now the Three of Hoes in an affectionate sort of way. Okay. Because patriarchy does try to tear us all apart from each other and tries to divide us all up and have us all turn against each other in a competitive sort of way. And we can't fall for it. I'm something that I'm trying to be better at, like telling myself. Oh, wait, there's something else that I've been thinking about a lot. And maybe this was the time, because I was like, I just kind of want to own up to this. Like, I had to do with judgment and merit and like, like what is a sin versus like what is merit, and trying to get beyond those kind of like ideas. And I very much fall into them a lot. But anyway, okay. Anything else in this life spirit that you're trying to highlight here? Yeah, romance and divine masculine. I just saw divine masculines at the bottom of the deck. I feel like there was a genuine romance, like, and he wanted to be your divine masculine, this guy, but love child. I feel like there was a love child between the two of you, is what I want to say. Family. That's what I'm getting. I just feel like something happened out of order here, and he needed to choose you, and he needed to go down this path with you. But maybe he would have had to get like a side gig or something to support you. But the father rejected that. And then that's when he got all like confused and feeling like shit. And he knew he had to make like a very consequential choice. Because if the father is like, oh, I feel like it was something like, you know, we build up the family name and everything. And it's like, he has a family. He has a person, and he has a kid, and you're advising him not to take care of that. Like, so it's all performative. This is like performative masculinity in some kind of way. The father's trying to teach him how to perform that. And so he's always going to be broken on the inside, because he's always going to have family out there that he didn't take care of, that he didn't provide for. Yeah, and then you had to learn how to love yourself. I think you were also feeling like shit because you were rejected. Like, you were deemed not worthy by the father, not by the son, but you were deemed like not good enough or not worthy. And I think like you felt that the true colors were revealed about this family, about the stock that this guy comes from. Look, married. So I feel like he got married to somebody that he was told to, basically. This guy doesn't feel like the brightest bulb. Or if he, like, I don't know that he realizes he was basically told what to do and who to marry. But he has had massive regrets in that lifetime over doing that. Because it just feels emotionally manipulative, the way in which he was, like, led. I think for some of these people, they were told probably like very specifically what to do and who to marry and why. But I think they kind of, maybe they were trying to hide that and have you on the side or something, because you were always their wish. And like, yeah, your family and like your child. I feel like for some, they wanted to meet your child. So some like you left before this person even realized that you were pregnant, kind of thing. Or they knew that you were pregnant, but they were dawdling on the fence of making the right decision. And you had to go build your nest. Like, this guy should have been helping build the nest, and he wasn't doing that. And you're like, time is a ticking. I need my nest. So like I feel like you left and you like kind of blocked this person. Yeah. You forged your own road. This is brave as all get out, like in the past. Yeah. And I feel like he always like was trying to get back to you. But he was trying to play both games. He was trying to play like the let me get rich and powerful game over here. But that only eroded him. Especially in the long term, it only eroded him. But he always like idealized like your family together. And I keep getting that he wanted to meet your child. Look, the Ten of Pentacles. Yeah, because I feel like he played house with somebody else. And then blocked off a path, like with the Empress kind of a thing. Yeah. The Hierophant. But I feel like whatever path you went on, whether some of you, I think, got married to somebody else and had like a happy family. For others of you, I think that you like forged your own way. Maybe you were like a seamstress or something. Like you kind of made your own way. You made your name for yourself and you raised and took care of your kid yourself. You didn't need no man. And he was like trying to get your attention, trying to kind of like pull you back, and you were just happy. And this was very sad. This to me, like I keep coming back to this feels like a big death, like in the past. Like it's like you deaded that part of you. I feel like you probably went to like a different town or something. Maybe you had to because of the stigma. And maybe like if you started over in a new place, you could say that like, you know, you did get pregnant by a husband, but he died in the war or something like that, you know? But yeah, so I feel like you had to kind of just start over, and you did. So that is what I'm getting for pile number 2. Interestingly, I have been on contemplating past lives in relation to past versions of myself. This resonates with a non-traditional divine masculine. I'm also non-traditional and hit the Oregon Trail alone and did not die of dysentery. Yo. Nice. Okay. So I feel like that was pile number 2. So we'll go ahead and put this back up. If you are just joining us, you are joining us at a beautiful time because we just finished pile number 2 and we are getting ready to move to pile number 3. I guess we just keep replaying lives until he makes some other choice for himself, except every time he gets more capable and will have less will. But you don't have to keep playing out karma, you know. You can kind of see through the illusion. This is just my understanding. And again, I've been listening to the Upanishads, like, and that's what they say is like, just kind of seeing through the illusion of this, like figuring out who you really are. And like all of that, like it just kind of like dissolves everything. And then we can become liberated and we can become free. Yeah. Okay. Let me just take a little sippy sip. Compassion. And maybe this is a good time to say this because like there's the law of karma and then there's like living in grace, because like the material world kind of runs on karma is the way that I understand it, like being actions, and like you can work through like all of your actions, but we can like live through grace. You know, this is like the act of like, you know, asking for forgiveness. Like I come from a Christian tradition and that's a big part of it. Like we ask for forgiveness because we live by like the grace of God, and that transcends. This is like, in my view, like the whole purpose of like the New Testament and like the good news that Jesus was like here to bring. But I feel like it translates over to, I think all religions are trying to say kind of like the same thing, but it's like that we can rise above our karmas and our actions by understanding, you know, like by putting it all kind of together, by integrating those lessons. We don't have to like play everything out. We can live like in grace and in forgiveness and, burning up that karma quickly. I don't think the cord ever breaks. Okay, so let's just spray this. Okay, so pile number 3. Past life here for pile number 3. I just heard Kyle. I don't know if somebody knows a Kyle, or like, I don't know where that name comes from or what it means. Like maybe it means like dandelion or something. I don't know. But I just heard Kyle. Lyle. I don't know. Carlisle. Crocodile. Okay. So for pile number 3, what is the past life here for pile number 3, Spirit? What past life is relevant here for pile number 3? Crossroads again. Okay. I mean, it makes sense. So important choices, life-changing decisions, spilled tea, secrets exposed, gossip spreading, leaked information. Oops, it's out. And then taking control. Okay, so I feel like in this lifetime, some type of tea or like secret got exposed about you. And then you had to kind of like take control of whatever that was. And that was in a soul contract. Fated connections, karmic relationships, spiritual agreements, destined to meet. So something here was kind of like destined for you to face this particular crossroads where I feel like something got away from you, like some tea got exposed about you. And I feel like it was like maybe you were in a compromised position, or it was like compromising information, or like information that your culture at the time, like for whatever reason, wouldn't like that or something. So, but whatever it was, I feel like it sent you on this like CEO kind of trajectory where you were taking back control. And let me just see. Okay, I want to... Oh my gosh. Okay, so for some of you, I feel like you were really attractive, but also maybe not too social. So, oh my gosh. So this says ambivalent. You say you want a lover, but you're not all in. Take time to figure out what you want. I feel like you were really attractive. Like, I feel like in a past life, you were really attractive, like on a lot of different levels, but you were kind of like ambivalent and you wanted to kind of go your way, retreating. So I feel like, yeah, you retreated. Yeah. You didn't want to settle. So for some of you, maybe this, I feel like you didn't want to settle for a life that you didn't want. You didn't want to, this is interesting. And some of you, I think you actually just wandered off into the woods. You decided that you didn't want this provincial life. Like you didn't want to live like by that. So I think for some of you, you might've just packed your stuff and like, yeah, it was like this retreat. I feel like this is kind of hermit energy. So maybe I just feel like it was kind of a solitary type look, not my type. Be open to different types of people because you may be surprised who you find. So for some of you, maybe you were like gay in that lifetime and maybe that like kind of got out where it's like, you don't want, there's something like you didn't want the regular thing. So something here like kind of, maybe everybody was like kind of gossip. I just feel like people are gossiping about you and saying like that you had all these opportunities, you were missing these opportunities, and you just weren't interested in whatever that was. And it led to a lot of confusion, like not just within you. I don't think that you were actually too confused about your preferences and who like you were as a person. I think that you were kind of confused as to what path that you were going to take. But I think mostly like a lot of people were confused about you. A lot of people are confused about you. Tell me more about this confusion. Let's see. Oh my gosh. And whether or not you love them. For some of you, like, I feel like you would always try to like pacify people. It says reassure, persuade, clarify, identify. Like you would always try to like clarify certain things. And you would like get up to this precipice where you're like, hey, I need to make a decision. Because I think that you recognize that you were hurting people in this way, that there was like some type of confusion. I think that you recognize that. And so you were like, hey, I'm going to make a decision. But then like when you went to make the decision, you were like, I don't know what to choose. Like you, so maybe I think you decided to leave. I think for a lot of you, you decided to leave out of like being pressured or something. Like, I don't know, this was like very confusing. And I think you were kind of doing your own thing. You were like lost in your own world, doing your own thing and just kind of enjoying your life. Like, I don't think that you wanted to make any changes. I think that you were just like, I don't necessarily even get that you were sleeping around or anything like that. I just feel like you were kind of an introvert. You were really attractive, like physically. And I think for some of you, it's like you were just considered like an attractive prospect or an attractive partner, maybe on a lot of levels. You were just kind of living your life, but people were expecting things from you. People like, would not just interact with you from a place of neutrality. And I think this was just like a sign of the times, but they would not interact with you from a place of neutrality. They all wanted something from you. And they would hurt themselves, I think, by the anticipation of gaining something from you. So whenever they were getting to know you, you would think that they were just kind of getting to know you. And like, I think you'd be very pleasant and friendly, and it would kind of build a connection. But they would expect that connection to go somewhere, meaning like to end in like you making some type of decision or them gaining something from you. And you kind of didn't understand that. Like you understood that that was like the cultural norm of the day but I think you were like, when I feel it, I'm going to feel it. And I don't think that you did feel it. I think a lot of people felt things towards you. And I think that you liked people well enough, but I just don't think that anything stood out as like your path, you know? And you didn't really know what to do. But I think like all this kind of started building up where you were like, okay, people are really getting hurt here and I'm not meaning to hurt people. And I'm being really confused because people would talk about you a lot. People would be like, what is up with that guy? Or what's up with that girl? You know, like they just, I don't know, they never go in for anybody, or like they're kind of like delaying or something. Like, what is that? Like, but they were framing it in a negative sort of way. And so I think you kind of realized that people were kind of getting hurt and you didn't know what to do. Because I think you had a couple of times maybe resolved in yourself, you're like, hey, I'm going to make a decision, you know, whatever it was. Like, I'm going to go with this person, but then it never felt right. Like it just never sat right with you. So I think that you just ended up leaving and possibly like ghosted. Ugh. Sudden disappearance without explanation. Left hanging, seen, ignored. Oh my God. So maybe you just like, you just like left. Okay, this is confusing me because it's like, now we have like catfish and breadcrumbing. So I think a lot of people felt that you were breadcrumbing them. I'm really not getting that though. Were you? Okay, it was cuffing season and I feel like you ghosted. I do think it was part of a soul contract. You ghosted. Why did you ghost? Okay, I'm just getting like, for some of you, you really were on some type of spiritual path. I feel like you chose the path of the hermit. And, because you had some type of sudden clarity about needing to prioritize like yourself. Because I think that you were just trying to please people and like your culture and your society, and you were trying to do the things that they were telling you to do, but it just didn't seem right for you. Emily, thank you so much for the super chat. When the outside is perceived to not match the inside based on projected social norms, maybe consider being curious of a book of contents. Yes, beautiful. Okay, so let me just see here. I think like you could have been accused of like being a witch. You could have been like, I don't know. I'm really getting that there was like some strong misunderstandings about you. There was like some harsh storms here. This is weird because it's like people are wanting to work with you, but you don't fit like the mold that you're supposed to fit. But it's like on the outside you do. Like on the outside you look a certain way, like you look perfect for the mold that society is trying to put you in. But on the inside I feel like there's something different. I want much more than this provincial life kind of a thing. Yeah, and so you struck out on your own. So tell me more about this, like when you struck out on your own. Spirit, what else went on here when you struck out on your own? Well, there's a lot of people sad about it. There's a lot of people sad about it. I'm hearing this song from Carrie Underwood. It's like so hard to see myself without him. I felt a piece of my heart break. But when you're standing at a crossroads, there's a choice you got to make. I guess it's going to have to hurt. I guess I'm going to have to cry. I guess I'm going to have to cry. And let go of some things I've loved to get to the other side. I guess it's going to break me down. It's sad, but sometimes moving on with the rest of your life starts with goodbye. And it's like, you think about, you could have been a man in this life, but like, I'm just kind of getting that this was like you in the past, and like this is you, like kind of reminiscing about it being the King of Cups. Like you overtook some type of temptation. Oh, you know what? Hold on. For some of you, I actually think that like there was for some of you, I feel like there was actually somebody here that you were supposed to marry or that you were supposed to be with. And that person embodied all of the things that society told you that you were supposed to want. And it's kind of giving like, remember Ichabod Crane? Do you ever watch Ichabod Crane? The cartoon, but it's like, you know, the daughter that everybody was like kind of going after, she wore like the pink dress and she had like that little umbrella. And it's like that. Like if you were supposed to marry her, but it just didn't feel right to you. It didn't feel right to you. It was like a strong temptation, but it just didn't feel right. And I actually think that you left. I actually think that you left. You did what you were kind of supposed to do on a spiritual level. You chose your own spiritual development, and that was the test. And I feel like that was kind of like the devil testing you on the mount. You know, like when the devil tests Jesus, you know, on the mountain, and he says like, go away from here. Like there's nothing inside of me for you to kind of connect to, because he had already like done all of his shadow work, basically. Like he had there was nothing for the devil energy to like attach to. And so it's like that. You passed that kind of test is what I want to say, where you said no, because it wasn't right. Not just for you, but also for that other person, because you knew that it wasn't right. You knew that you didn't love them. You knew that it would have been all for like material gain or something. You're like, that devil energy. Yeah. That's really what I'm getting. So you said no. Yeah. You said no. And oof, like you cleared karma in doing that. And, and it was karma to do with like duty and tradition. And I feel like you just kind of left. And I feel like, again, you were like the talk of the town. There was like confusion. Why did you leave? Why this? Why that? What's wrong with you? Yeah, like people, because what was wrong with you or what was different? It's like things that people couldn't understand. At that time, they weren't talking about those things. They couldn't understand. You were teaching people something, and yours was the higher energy. But you were, yeah, I feel like you left with like the clothes on your back. You left with like nothing. It was like being penniless versus like having everything. It was like this big kind of like turnaround in your soul. I feel like it left a kind of a kerfuffle. Like people were confused. People were arguing about like this Empress energy. Yeah, about like your judgment away from either being that yourself, or whether you were a male or a female in that life, or like you were supposed to be with this person, and it just caused quite the scene. And it caused everybody to kind of try to look at the situation differently. I feel like this was a very spiritual moment for like this group of people. I think that you're probably metaphorically stoned to death, you know, like for what you did. Like there was just no excuse for it. You were spit upon. But I actually think that this was kind of the beautiful choice. This was like the I love you choice, you know? But I do think it caused like a big ending. I think that you had to leave the town. I think that you had to, and find yourself and start some type of like new beginning. And, wow, like, weirdly, I think that's karmic for like whoever it was that you were turning down as well. There's somebody else here though, and again, this could have been you in that life where you chose a life of like hardship, you know, like, because look at the struggle here on this, or you fell in love with or found somebody who was like this, and that was your love, like that felt correct to you, and it was like keep going. But look at the little cat on the shoulder, like the guardian angel was like keep going, keep climbing this hill, and like you're actually moving towards a wish fulfillment is what I'm getting. It revealed something here to like not be the truth. I just heard love should not be a competition, and like marriage, it's not, you shouldn't try to marry like the top of the pyramid. That's not the right reason, you know? That's not what it's about. You misunderstand the entire like purpose, language, function of that. And I feel like that's something that you taught them. But you, I mean, this kind of feels like leaving somebody at the altar, but I don't think that's quite it. I think there was like a lot of expectation. I think people couldn't fathom why you did it. I think that they thought you must have had another family, or that you must have like something here. Look, pregnancy? Yikes. True colors. What? Look, legal matters. I mean, this seems to me like it had something to do with a contract, breaking of a contract. But there's heavy karma here. There's karma that's being worked out, but then there's also potentially like some type of contract where you were promised from like a young age when you were kids or something to each other, and you actually had to break some type of like material contract in order to fulfill a spiritual one. And it feels like you had to choose like kind of self-love over like to learn this like karmic lesson. I can't dig. There's some bit of information. What am I trying to figure out here? Because it's like there's something that doesn't. Okay, I just asked like, who is this person that you were trying to marry that kind of represented everything, and shady came out. And also like in this deck, the Two of Cups, which has come out for this reading, there's like, it's showing a feminine energy. Feminine for me is like the being energy. So like at the core of who this person like is, there's something off about this person. They have like the kind of dead fish eyes, you know, where it's kind of, so it seems all great on the surface, but really I feel like this person, their family, something about this like setup, it's like very shady. And that's part of the karma here. And yeah, like bumping heads. I definitely think this very tumultuous kind of, it would have been like, had this played out, very tumultuous sort of situation, it would have had you like eroded, losing sleep. But I think some of you like were rebelling, like you were caught coping in some kind of way. What is this that you moved away from? It was an illusion. Whatever it was an illusion. And something like, it's like you followed the right part of yourself. I don't think, you might not have even known that it was an illusion, but you followed like the right part of yourself, like the love part of yourself. And that led you away from the illusion without even having to kind of realize it. But whatever it was like focused more on like career. So what did you move towards? Okay, so you move towards, it's funny. So there's something about this situation that was going to flip. So like you didn't want to marry this person. Everything seemed like right on the surface, but I feel like they're dead inside. Like it's kind of giving a little bit like touch of sociopath kind of vibes. I'm not saying that they are or they aren't, but I'm just saying that's kind of it. Like it was, at least that's the energy of like, it's very cold and calculated, this like kind of partnership. But it was going to lead to bumping heads. You were going to be bound, and it was going to lead to bumping heads. And so even when you're bumping heads, you're bound by a contract. So you can't really even like stand up for yourself. But instead, I think you chose to move towards like a bumping head situation. You moved towards a conflict that you had. I feel like it's maybe the inner conflict. You didn't run away is kind of what I'm getting. You went right towards this karmic lesson, and moved you towards marriage. Or I feel like this person was going to get their marriage that they wanted, the cold marriage, with somebody else. And look, psycho crazy ex. As I just get that there's something you don't know about this person that you were getting involved with. Like there's some type of ex situation that they won't let go of, or somebody's obsessed with them, or I just feel like there's going to be trouble down the road with that. But you weren't trying to go the easy way out. You faced some type of bumping heads energy inside of yourself, some type of conflict. You stood up to it, and we went towards it, and you're like, no, I'm going to solve this. I'm not going to run away from my problems, or I'm not going to run away from something here. And then it's getting you your wish. And I feel like it's maybe a love-hate situation, but this to me, it's with life, or like you're ironing out something here. And it's the answer to a prayer. This is interesting. Okay, anything else? How does this, what are you trying to highlight in this lifetime, Spirit? I mean, Queen of Cups, Eight of Wands. So this could be like a sudden pregnancy or something. Some type of compassion. It's like there's this soft, loving energy, and then this very forceful kind of energy. Why is that coming through? Oh, so something is trying to prevent you from leaving again. That's what it is. That's what it is. So if there was a really shock ambush kind of situation, it's because it's remembered, that energy of you moving away. This is the most important part of this, is that you had the courage to move away. This energy doesn't want you to move away from it again. It was humiliated, or it was embarrassed. I feel like on their end, they still have karma that they're working out about. Really, it's about going after their right path in life, because they were. Sorry if you can hear that. The motorcycle might mean something. But yeah, I think that they were trying to. So I don't know. It's somebody here could have gotten pregnant. There could have been a really loving moment that you had with somebody, and then that person moved away, but then all of a sudden you got pregnant with somebody else or something. That is somebody trying to hold you, grasp you. They don't want you to leave again. They don't want you to make the right choice again, because they haven't figured out how to make the right choice for themselves. So this is sabotage. They're trying to glom onto you. Yeah, because I think they feel why are they doing that? Look, this is the Two of Cups just came out, and I know you can't see her eyes, but there's something. I won't focus. To me, that just does not look like a lady in love. It doesn't. Looks like a lady in weird kind of energy. I don't know. Yeah, somebody here is trying to actually break that apart. Somebody's trying to break that apart. Because they want some type of new beginning, or they view somebody here as it's because they haven't gotten to the core of why they are the way that they are, and they're still trying to go down this false path. And but in that past life, it revealed the truth of them, and I do think that it came with maybe a sizable chunk of humiliation. So they could have conspired with some kind of devil energy within themselves to try and end a connection that you had with somebody else in a very forceful way. So that could have been I kind of feel maybe through a pregnancy, or yeah, by a choice, or this person, I don't know, they're a friend kind of a thing. It's not letting go. It's clinging on. This is an ABUSER. And they're clinging on because this is bravado. This is how dare you. This is that kind of energy, but they don't show it that way. And I think they're trying to cause harm. They're trying to maybe flip that humiliation or something like on you or on somebody else, even though I can tell that you did the right thing in the past. So it's this tug of war. That's what's going on. There's a tug of war to do with this like 10 of Cups energy about like who is the happy ever after. Because I think somebody here felt like humiliated or like kind of like left behind. I don't know. But because the 10 of Cups for me, it's Mars and Pisces. So that's what they need to be doing. They need to be purifying their Mars energy, which is just a muck. Somebody here, like their Mars energy is decrepit. And I don't mean that it's not strong. It's probably very strong. But it's like because it's strong in an imbalanced way where like they don't have their Venus energy up and running. They never tap into that. They might think that they do, but they don't. Their sun energy is not up and running. Their moon energy, like other things that would be fulfilling in their life. It's just their Mars. They kind of go about it. And they're trying to look the part. They're leading everything based on image. And I think that's what they felt humiliated by, is that like their image was like shattered or something in the past. And that's the thing that gave them the most joy. So that's what they're tugging of warring. But like their Mars is the thing that's supposed to be purified in a spiritual kind of sense. But they're not doing that because also Pisces can be the sign of loss. So it's like losing that Mars energy. So they could have felt that they were losing, maybe I don't know, maybe this isn't like a love situation because this could tie over into pile number 2. Like maybe they lost their son because Mars can be the sun, like their child that's a boy. Maybe they felt that they lost their, like something that made them competitive in some type of way. And if you looked the part, then maybe they felt like that was it. So it's this push-pull kind of energy. And they're trying to banish somebody else here. So somebody here has, I think, just gotten better at being sneaky. And that's not what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to purify their Mars. And that's why it was like sneakier or like more sabotaging or more sudden or very jarring or like they bum rushed you in some kind of way. And it's because they know that your soul is more than capable of severing a connection that doesn't serve you because you've done it before. Because you did it before. You made the right choice for you and for everybody else. But this person sucks that much. Like somebody here sucks that much where they only care about like winning. They only care about saving their face. They only want to look like they've got the 10 of Cups. And look, okay, so I just grabbed this. I don't really know like Tybalt here, but it says Prince of Cats, fashion aggressiveness. I don't know why all those things like seem to go together, but they paint like a crazy picture. And I feel like that's this energy. It says patience perforce with willful caller meeting makes my flesh tremble in their different greeting. What? Social events. Establish contact, invitation, fellowship. Yeah, I mean, somebody here's just really after you because they feel like you owe them something. They feel like you owe them like a repair of they're trying, this is like they could be trying to they could be trying to humiliate you in some type of way, reputationally, because in the way that they felt humiliated, but they really don't understand that in that past life, they initiated some kind of wrong interaction. So their way of associating with karmas and stuff, like even on a soul level, is they think that you owe them something because you embarrassed them when it was the right move. And this person is like, I really shouldn't have been messing with that person because it was wrong. And if I had tapped into my inner self and if I hadn't been so superficial and if I hadn't have been so driven by this or that, this like obsessive Mars energy, then none of this would have happened. But they're not purifying their Mars like they're supposed to be doing. Instead, they're blaming you. And they came at you pretty vicious. And they tried to like pull the rug out from underneath you. They wanted to cause you to stumble and fall in some type of way. And that's their version of karma. That's what they think. It's tit for tat. They think it's because the thing that mattered to them was their reputational energy. That's what you severed. For you, you're trying to find the right path. It's like, I can't marry you because it's not the right path. That's the way that you were viewing it in the past. But you and this person are not at all on the same level of consciousness. Not at all. So I don't know if this is a third party for some of you in this lifetime, or I don't know who this is, but they have problems. Like this person has serious problems. But they don't kind of realize that it's them. This is the person who, it's always everybody else's fault. Like whenever they try to like kind of understand what went wrong in a situation, this is the person who will never, ever, ever say like, it was me. I was at fault. Like, the way that I was looking at the situation was hungry ghost energy. It was never enough. I was looking at the situation from a place of humiliation. I was looking at it from a reputational place. When if this person had done what I was asking them to do, which is like be with me, they would have had to sacrifice like their genuineness, their soul, They would have had to sacrifice their, like, that's incorrect of me to ask of that person. This person saw what I couldn't see in that life. And for that, I'm forever grateful that they made the right decision for them, for me, for everybody else involved. Also, like, there's no love here because this person didn't take the time to get to know you. Because remember what I was saying in the beginning, you were very attractive, but also like you were like an introvert. You wanted to go down the path of like the hermit, I think, even, you know, maybe you wanted to struggle on your own, but this person wouldn't allow you that. Because maybe there was something to do with like your gender versus their gender, your social class versus their social class, where they felt like they were entitled to you and that they owned you and they didn't have to look at you as a person. They didn't have to get to know you. So this person disrespected and disregarded you in every conceivable way and then blamed you like for making the right choice is kind of what I want to say. You were just an object to them. You were just like a pawn in their game. This is a narcissist, like kind of through and through. I mean, I'm not diagnosing anybody. I'm not qualified, but I mean, the way that this person just approaches things is just hollow, devoid of like, and here I am getting into my judgmental mode. But you know, the one thing too to take away from this is that if you're doing something, you're learning. So like, even if you're sinning, you know, if you do something that's full of merit, like you did, you know, or if you do something that's, in my opinion, sinful, like what this person did, at least you're learning if you're willing to kind of like look at this. But this person needs to be willing to suck the poison out. And I just feel like they're trying not to let you like get away, but they have like some type of crossroads here. They needed to be single. They had a choice too. I feel like they also needed to be single. That was actually what was right for them too, is what I'm getting. But instead they were in this like deep fake energy. They wanted to like deep fake. They wanted to tell a convincing lie. They wanted to alter the truth. And they wanted to like love bomb you. But I also feel like they wanted to love bomb the town or like love bomb the community, you know? And I just don't think that you were about that. So this is animosity. This is like definitely a karmic enemy. And they feel like you started it because how dare you? How dare you have an opinion? How dare you? That was your fault. It was your fault for having an opinion. It was your fault for trying to understand yourself. This is kind of the person, like, I don't know, I live like in America and I know y'all can see our dirty laundry. There's quite a few people who just, you know, it's that, the hierarchies, the white, nationalist, Christian, patriarchy, all those things, white men, blah, 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 like that just kind of view, how dare you have an opinion about your life? Even though we live in a liberal democracy, that liberal part of that meaning life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? But they say, how dare you pursue your own happiness? Because you should have fit into my scheme. And that was your job. You had one job. That's kind of the way they look at it. So they think that it's your fault. Like they really genuinely think that it's your fault because they have no interest in getting to know you and then making a place for you in their society. And I mean that on like maybe even a political level, but like their social group, they don't want to make room for you to exist the way that God made you. They want to stuff you into a shoe. They want to play God, basically. So, okay. That is what I'm getting for pile number 3. Vicious energy coming through. Vicious. There's a vicious undertone to this. Okay. Wow. Wow. Yuck. Dangerous as well. Dangerous. Pile number 3 is dangerous. Okay. I'm just going to take a little breather here. Oops. I just looked over and saw Soul. He's curled up and so cute, but he did just wake up right at the end of pile number 3. Isn't that right, Soul? Hi, baby. Hi, Soul. Hi. He's like, what are you on about? Okay. Okay, let me take a drink here. Let me just... Amok. Is that the Valentine's candle in the back? It sure is. It sure is. I love those. They're probably my favorite ones. All right. Should we move into our general messages? Oh my gosh. Let us bunny butt the situation. Bunny butt, bunny, bunny, bunny butt, bunny butt, bunny, bunny, bunny butt, bunny butt, a bunny, bunny, bunny butt. Okay, guys, I'm going on vacation soon. I'm so excited. Okay. So, okay. What deck should I choose? What deck should I choose? What message do you have for us? Okay. All right, Spirit, it doesn't have to be relevant to this topic, but what message do you have for us? What message do you have for us? Mind games, immature, testing you, analyzing you. Okay, why is this coming out? Message, communication, conversation, expressing feelings. Uh-oh. So maybe some of you received a message here recently. Somebody sent you a text or whatever, or somebody's thinking about doing this, like playing some type of mind game. Determined, because they're very determined. Ew. I wonder if this is like maybe the pile number 3 person, because remember I said like they're very determined. Doesn't have to be though. Doesn't have to be. But whoever this is, like they're persistent. Yeah. And they're still hanging on to your energy for some reason. Why? Secretive. Sneaky, mysterious, hiding information. So they want to be sneaky about why they're still holding on to your energy. Okay. So they want a reconciliation. Ew. Sorry. That's just my natural reaction to this. Oh my gosh, unemployed, broke, fired, living beyond their means, and they need a job. So for some of you, this person is wanting to reach out. Maybe you could offer them a job. Maybe some of you are in a position where you could do that, or maybe they want money. They want to try and like make you think that there's like some type of spiritual union though. And that there's like unfinished business between the two of you. They want to maybe like ask for your forgiveness. Ew, this just looks like a setup. I just heard con man. They want to act like they're hurting, or they want to like tend to your hurt. This is their way of trying to take back control, but they're trying to dress it up in like flowery language or something. Okay, so who is this person, Spirit? Who is this person? Can you guys hear soul drinking? I am kind of sitting in the middle of like cat central here, because like their little bed is over there. There's like a feeder. There's their little water thing. It's giving homosexual. It is giving that, isn't it? Who is this person, Spirit? Okay, they are pissed off. Like this person is actually like really pissed off at your wisdom in this situation. Ew. Okay. They are pissed off at your intuition in the situation, your ability to kind of see in the dark. And, you know, if you know anything about Hecate or Hecate, her story, she goes in after Persephone, after she was taken to the underworld. So Hecate is like a very brave kind of energy. And she goes into like the dark places with her little lantern. And like, that's all basically. And so you're very brave. And I feel like you kind of followed the rabbit hole. The little bunny butt, you followed the white rabbit down into this kind of like cavern, and you kind of found this person, and they were trying to, I feel like this person is trying to throw you out of your own home or like your own remit. So that tells me that they're trying to, I don't know, this could be somebody that, I watch this lady, her YouTube channel is Life Take Two, and I just find her to be so interesting. She grew up Mormon, and she is just a firecracker. You can tell like in her spirit. And when she was young, she wanted to go to college. She had this like big dream of who she wanted to be, but her church elders like talked her out of it every step of the way. She was going to like marry this one guy, and then she was persuaded into marrying this other guy who she ended up being with and having all of her kids with and everything. And he was just horribly abusive. She started her own like windshield business. It was like a car windshield business, and she was persuaded to like sign that over to him at the beginning part of their relationship, because she was told that like, women were not supposed to run their own business or things like that. And that's really what I'm tapped into here is I feel like this person is like maybe trying to get you to sign over the rights of your home or sign over the rights of your lease or sign over the rights of your, like if you do have a business or something, they're trying to take something from you, but they were trying to come across as though they're like this Thor energy and like they're the only one that can grab the hammer, like they're righteous enough to like grab the hammer. But instead you followed them down. Like in the white rabbit, from Alice in Wonderland, you followed them into the warren and like that tumble into like the shadow, and you were brave enough to kind of like follow them through. And yeah, it was a gateway. It was a gateway to like truth, freedom, liberation. Oh wait, isn't Hecate liberation? Oh, illumination. But she also wears like that always reminds me of the Statue of Liberty on her head. So it reminds me of like liberty, like your own kind of like liberty here. This person doesn't want to treat you as like an equal. And they wanted to brand you as like Lilith, she's not submissive this way, that way. But instead, I feel like you transformed yourself. I think for some of you, the way that this person comes at you is so intense as well. It scared you. And you actually followed that line of inquiry. Like, why am I so afraid of this person? Like, I think they tried to pass it off as intensity or passion or love, but really it's like not adding up to you. Like this person's pushy. Like they're really pushy. They try to make it seem like they're very altruistic, but I think it's you who's very altruistic, but they're trying to brand your energy as though like it's something different. And really, I feel like this person, I think this person is set. Like they are this chaos energy. Nothing can really grow around them. But I think they're trying to make it seem like that's you. And they view you as their ticket, basically. This is somebody who's viewing you as their meal ticket. But like I said, you had a lot of wisdom in this situation. And that is what's turning the tables on this person. That's tipping the scales. So I think like, for some of you, there's been a process, like actually processing through whatever this is. But now like the scales are starting to turn and like they're actually getting their justice. You've released this person because whatever you found, it pissed you off. And like you have actually started to release this person. Yeah, you're standing on your own. You're standing in your own strength. That's the thing that you needed to connect with. So that tells me that for a lot of you, you came from like expectations or a culture that did tell you that you needed to be more submissive, or at least you felt torn because you're like, well, I want to be in like my feminine energy, I want to be able to be soft or like, allow you to take the lead or whatever. But this is a dangerous person to do that with. You have to have your eyes wide open. If you are a person who wants to be submissive and wants to be, wants somebody to lead or something, like you have to really make sure that you know what you're looking at. And most people don't. Like even when you get married, you don't fully know the person that you are looking at. So I feel like you had to confront your own fear in this situation, but this is all turning around on this person. Like now they're afraid. And I think that they're afraid that they're losing influence or that they, that this isn't going to work on you anymore. I think this person's trying to drag you back into like a belief system where you're more malleable. So they're trying to manifest some type of imbalance. Like I just keep seeing that this person operates based on imbalance. And you are really standing at the precipice where good things are about to come in for you because you know who you are, you found who you are, you stood in your own power, you've followed this like very alive voice and inside of you, this very alive spiritual energy. And this person is trying to be they're trying to pass some type of judgment on that, or they're trying to convince you to pass some type of judgment on yourself for doing that because they're trying to move you into a kink territory, to be honest. I think it's their kink to be powerful, but this person's not powerful because they're not the way that they want to fancy themselves because they couldn't build it for themselves. They have to take something from you and then pretend like it belonged to them the whole time. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to lord something over you. Yeah, and they wanted to catch you off guard too. Yeah. There's also something that they're not telling you. They're trying to move away from some kind of other calamity that their energy has built and given rise to. They actually need to move away from it because they're trying to make sure you don't know about that. Yeah, I think it has to do with another situation whereby they feel there's another woman here that I think has stood in her power and has taken her power back from this like abusive a-hole or whoever this is. And they're trying to move away from that, and they're trying to jump over onto your leaf or whatever, like whatever you got going on. This reminds me of like a locust, somebody who just like eats one field of crop and then moves to another one. They're always a taker. They never give. But I feel like something's catching up with this person. I think people are starting to find out. Yeah, they're in hiding right now. Yeah, because I feel like it could have been that this is what happened between the two of you, where like originally you were with this person, you took back control, you went on your own path. It's actually led you somewhere. This person jumped over to somebody else's leaf that they thought that they could control. And that person has also now like gone into their cocoon and transformed a butterfly and is going to fly away from this person. They've like paid their dues. They've learned their karma. And so now this person is thinking that maybe they could jump back over to you now that they see that you've built yourself back up from wherever they left you. That's what's happening. But it's like doors are really closing on this person is what I'm getting, because they were avoiding this. I do think they need to embrace some kind of self-love. They have to get over the cycles that they put themselves through. And so, yeah, I just feel that this person, they were ignoring what Spirit was trying to lead them. Like Spirit was trying to get this person to work through their shadow. But instead, I feel like whenever this person was in their tumultuous time, they were just kind of like sitting there. And so it's like the chickens have come home to roost, basically. And yeah, they're trying to give you an offer, but this is devil energy. They're trying to get you to take their offer. So it might be like very tempting. And I think they're trying to convince you that they love you or something, or that what they're offering is heart energy, but it's not. So, yeah, this is just an illusion. So who is this person? The devil. I guess like you would know who this is, maybe. Who is this that's trying to come back? Spirit. Very argumentative person. Just a not fair person. I feel like that's how you'd remember this person. They were just very not fair in their energy to you. They didn't want it to be both sides. They didn't want you to they weren't considering your needs. They weren't, and I feel like also they could have ran away. Yeah, I think this person really knocked you. Like, I think that you were maybe in a queen, like you were feeling yourself in that Queen of Wands energy, not in a conceited way or anything. But I think this person felt like kind of small in comparison to that. And then they tried to knock you and make you feel like you were lacking or something. And they're going to try to do the same thing. So, okay, anything else, Spirit? I feel like you're over it, and Spirit is encouraging you to date somebody new and not to go back to this person. To move forward in life and not to go back to whoever this person is. His name is Jeremy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. He keeps trying to talk to me, but I can tell that he needs something. Yeah. But to think I'd help him with anything other than a kick in the ass is crazy. Okay. So I think that you're already onto this person, and Spirit is basically just like confirming what you probably already know. Spirit is just saying like, yeah, this person is on the same old treadmill that they were on, and that Spirit has been trying to get through this person to get them to process through certain things, but they haven't. I think they've been on a whole other journey with somebody else that they made miserable. That person has woken up, dusted themselves off, straightened their crown, and moved away. And Spirit's just like asking you to do the same thing, just to keep going. Because I feel like you already did that in the past, but like you just kind of built on that. So, okay, that's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much. And we will keep you posted on the change in time for next week's live stream, because in case you missed it, Alex and I have our 10-year wedding anniversary, and we didn't go on a honeymoon or anything when we were first married. So we're absolutely determined to go somewhere. We're not going anywhere crazy, but we're going to a place that I really, really like, and we're going to be there, and it's going to be fun, and I'm so excited. And we have to maybe move the Friday live stream, and we're thinking about sometime Thursday night where we are, and we'll try to like figure out when to do that. But the rain be wavy. Thank you so much again for a super chat. Remember that 30K settlement. I'm holding my family accountable. Bro tries to gaslight me and treats me like Trunchable when I'm Miss Honey Bye. When I'm Miss Honey Bye. 10 years, you look too young. Thank you. Happy anniversary, Alex and Jess. Yeah. So, okay. Fridays with you guys. All right. So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you for spending Friday with me. And I guess I'll see you when I see you. Maybe I'll post some pictures if you're on Patreon. I'll like share some of my favorite places because there's this one place like I'm so excited to go. And I'm pretty sure the last time I was there, I shared it. And it just refreshes me to see it. So I don't know. If I remember, I will. But okay, that's what I have for you guys. And I'll see you when I see you. Bye.